I'm Aaron Sagers, and this is Talking Strange. Hey there, spooky nerds, and welcome to Talking Strange, the paranormal pop culture show. As always, I am your host, Aaron Sagers. And as I record this episode on Friday, December 6th, 2024, John Kozlowski, the new chief of the Pentagon's Unexplainable Phenomena Investigation Hub, AARO, also known as All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, it is said that they have reached full operational capability, according to the Defense Scoop website news outlet. And currently, maybe even right at this moment, AARO is participating in a classified briefing with the House Oversight and Accountability Committee right now. So, UAPs, Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, or UFOs if you prefer, which I still kind of prefer, but I get it. It's a big part of the news cycle. It's a big part of the public discourse, and really it seems like the public is taking it seriously, and maybe the government is taking it seriously or starting to. But from the public side of things, we have Enigma. And Enigma is the first UAP sightings alert network, and it is a smartphone app. It's an independent venture-backed startup dedicated to awareness of what's out there, what's in the sky. And it allows users to share their sighting stories, to read accounts from others, to upload videos and photos and really document their whole experience. And in addition to the 200,000 recent historical sightings that are in their database, already in, I think, about 18 months or so, they're already up to 25,000 sightings of their own added to Enigma. So to talk about Enigma is an old friend of mine. He is a UFO researcher, a field researcher, a writer. We've seen him all across TV shows, and he is a consultant for Enigma, Alejandro Rojas. Alejandro, hey man.
Hello. Thanks for having me on, and it's great to talk to you again.
You too, always is a good time to talk to you. And, although we do have a track record of it, seems like most of the time we actually get to hang out in person, it's very scattershot, unplanned, typically at like San Diego Comic-Con or some random event.
Yeah, it's usually at some event. I think we've been to Hungary together,
That's right.
and many other adventures, mostly on kind of the sci-fi thing, even though, as you've known all along, I'm more prominently known for my UFO or UAP work. So, yeah, it's been an interesting ride in that, this is kind of my second. I was full-time with Enigma for several years. Now I'm kind of a consultant. But, I've had over 12, 13 years of being employed full time working on writing on this topic. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just been a roller coaster, that's for sure.
Well, I already kind of described a little bit about what Enigma is, which
Yeah.
you can add to that, but also who is Enigma? Because I think rightly so, a lot of people are curious about who are the people behind the scenes making this thing happen.
Yeah, the who is Enigma is a great question, and it has created a lot of controversy because not all of the who is are their names shared. In fact, I'm kind of the primary person with my name being shared. And to be honest, I'm not even sure who has their name, who's using their name publicly and who's not really. I'm the only one who interacts with the public. So that's why it's kind of the only one that matters for the most part. But you know, the reason why is the question. Of course, the conspiratorial side of things, people are like, oh, it's because they're working for the CIA and the government and they're hiding information on all of this sort of thing. But actually, this whole app came from the tech industry. It was the tech side of things, people who work on startups and other apps. And, the stigma around this topic, they still weren't all comfortable with sharing their name. But even more than that, in current times, the trolls out there, NASA's talked about this, and really this has on the back end severely hampered serious investigation study in this topic. NASA said it over and over again that their people just got attacked when they put together a UFO panel to talk about this issue. And our owners been felt pretty protective over their people, and they don't want their social media getting blown up. And I
Yeah.
totally understand that because they see what I go through. Me being a public figure, a lot of times comments I'll make will get attacked, or people will pile on, and the trolls, and they don't want that. I'm strong enough. I've dealt with it. People like you and I have dealt with this for a very long time. But they don't want to deal with it. And I get it. It's kind of interesting too, because another organization that I helped start was the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies. And they're a pretty popular organization. And nobody's ever really, there was a short period of time for a couple months where people made a big deal about SCU having the same issue. People not wanting to share their names because, of course, that was more engaging with the scientific community. And in the scientific community, there are many people who don't want to be public about their interest in this topic. So we've always had anonymous people at SCU, any organization in this topic I've worked with. There's been people, especially prominent people, who you really need their input and help, who want to use anonymous names. Does it look a little bad on the front end to people? It does, but I've always said, you know what? I would rather have Dr. So-and-so's expertise than not. And if they don't want to share their name, then we'll protect that information. And that's where I am today. What we're doing, I think, is really important. By nature, it's transparent. If you submit a UFO sighting, it will automatically, our goal is within 10 minutes, it'll get up and you'll see it on the app. It'll be just like you submitted it. You'll be able to see yourself and if anything has changed. And if we don't post it, we'll let you know why. Really, for the most part, if we're not posting it, it's either a potential hoax, some sort of technical issue, or maybe a mistaken post. We also are focused on UFOs. So if they're reporting entities, Bigfoot, something like that, we may reject it as well. We're very transparent. The app itself is just very transparent. And I'm super excited about it because I think that the thing that we need to do now, and I know that it's not popular to agree with NASA and the government in some circles, but they're right. We need more data. If we're going to prove that aliens are here, then we need data to support that, and more than just anecdotal information and stories. And that's what we're pursuing. And as a journalist, I pursued this topic being taken seriously. And in that instance, you rely on anecdotal information a lot. But now that the topic is taken seriously, we need to take it to the next level. And a lot of people are frustrated that I'm like, I don't take anecdotal information as seriously. But, we're not going to move to the next level till we get that hard data, the sensor data, analyze that data, get papers written that prove what's going on, and give us insight into the mechanisms and the nature of the phenomena.
Yeah. And I mean, just to show for the folks that are watching on the video, it's I don't know why I've been having this issue. I don't know why my thing is blurring, but you're looking at just sort of the New York region, tri-state area, and you're seeing the pings of reports on this map, as well as, as you zoom in, you get sort of the historical context about, the V-shaped craft of lights or objects seen over the New York region, or you even highlight airports, things like that. So there's a lot happening under the hood here, but really what the who is Enigma, okay, there's a lot of folks that are behind the scenes on it, but the takeaway for me is like, who is Enigma is the people. I am, you are, the people out there, the people are Enigma,
Exactly.
and they're the ones. And that's from my perspective, that's a big part of what this whole exploration has been missing. I mean, there are, a lot of MUFON chapters around the nature, the nation, the world, but having this concentrated area to upload your account, really this kind of raw feed coming from the people, I really think that's been missing, and I think that is a fascinating contribution to this.
Yeah, exactly. You hit it on the head, and I'm going to use that, and our marketing person's going to love it. Who is
We
Enigma?
are
And
Enigma.
and you're right because we've got a pretty small staff. of engineers. If you met these people, they're, anybody who works with, engineers, or they're like anybody at any coworker. I mean, I love my coworkers. They're great. They're intelligent. Most of them there are in New York City. It's so fun to go visit them in our office there. They're wonderful. And they're doing really good work. They're focused on making a great user experience. But that's kind of the attitude as well, is that it's an alert network and a community, and that's what we're fostering. And who are we? We are that community, and we now have thousands of people in that community. If you post your sighting, you're most likely going to be get people commenting. If you don't, you can ping us. We are very responsive to our users. We get right back with everyone. I mean, I think people would be surprised. Sometimes we'll get an email and the company is now on high alert to address this one user's, concern, whether that be an error or some sort of experience they're having that they're not appreciating or they need help with. We're very, very responsive to users to get those things resolved, because we want to foster this community of people talking, and crowdsourcing is the key here, and crowd analysis. So, we may not have a scientist to be able to look at your sighting and get a paper written, but you're going to have plenty of people who are very enthusiastic and look at reports every day that are going to give you comments about what you saw and hopefully give you some clues, or even more than that. And this is really exciting. You'll also get a lot of people saying, hey, I saw that too. Hey, I saw that too. Look at my sighting. And you can start to share that information with each other. So, we're fostering this community where we can get this analysis done and start to focus on gathering information and getting more insight into what's going on.
Yeah, that's it lends itself to sort of this educational component because
Mm-hmm.
as you're looking at these things and you're comparing notes, you're taking into account other considerations that maybe you weren't really thinking of before. So I think that that's really cool. And we have, on this, as I said, there's historical sightings going all across the globe. You have these sightings videos, audio stories,
Mm-hmm.
and then really you could break it down based on time of day, location, the witness count, all of these things. So it's curated, but it's very easy to
Yeah.
filter and hone in on what you want. Tell me a little bit about this kind of the camera element of this because this seems like it's a big and growing part of what Enigma is and hopes to be.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a couple aspects that the education part that you brought up is really important. And we can hit on that a bit later. And that's a big component to what we're doing. But to what you're asking here directly are the tools, because we're also working on building tools for people. So, for instance, what are the number one tools that UFO hunters use? Well, primarily, one of the main things they're using is something like a flight tracker to see what planes are in the sky, and also like a celestial type of app that shows you what planets, what satellites are in the sky as well. We've integrated both of those into our tool for free. So if you go to the camera and you hit the discovery tab, you're going to see all the planes and satellites, all and celestial objects all in one screen. And there's no app that combines all of that. So you've got that tool. The other tool that's in the camera area is our video, what we would like people to use. But what's cool about it is it pulls all of that metadata that is coming along with the video. So for instance, if you go to that tool, I can kind of show that to you right now, actually. It's going to show you, where you are as far as location. It's going to show you your elevation at the top there.
Yeah.
And we probably have the same camera. Mine's in the same that Sony blocker camera.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to do the showing the screen on the
Yeah.
Zoom, but
But the
yeah.
elevation, the angle that your phone is in, this shows the direction that your phone is pointing, the angle. So we can grab all of that data and do analysis with it should we need to. In fact, we've already developed, because we want to get to a real-time situation where people are filming right now and letting people know, hey, I'm filming something. And we've already developed, if there are three people filming something at once, it will automatically triangulate where that object is, the speed, the direction. So we've already built that aspect to get ready for that. So yeah, the tool part is our future build outs, but already you've got some robust tools right there in the app for free.
Well, talk a little bit about the education component because you're also I mean, you and the other
Mhm.
users are teaching one another about what this might be in the sky, so that way
Yeah.
it's not misidentified.
Yeah, two sides of things. And because, you know, we are, to your point, showing people what things could be. And I frustrate even my coworkers every day because I'm looking at videos every day. Because I curate this first feed. If you go into the app, this first little icon, you're just going to see a bunch of videos, a few audio, uh, people talking about their sign, but a bunch of videos. And I choose like the best videos to put up there for the day. And some of them are really exciting. But like you said, there's a lot that people find exciting, but people who have looked at these for quite a while, like both you and I, we can identify them pretty quickly. Things like Chinese lanterns, even more so. And I've done a video on this. Starlink can manifest in several different ways. And some of the most spectacular manifestations that are really strange to people happen on that second stage when it's reconfiguring itself. It can make these extraordinary kind of sights in the sky all the way in Italy on the other side of the planet, or often over Texas, this happens, or the Southwest. And so there are educational pieces. Those frustrate people a lot because they're like, oh, you're just debunking everything. But that's not necessarily the case. We just want people to know what they see. And when you submit, we've got a robust section where we've got some videos and images to show you what things like Chinese lanterns or other things look like, so you don't so you can be educated on what's going on. On the flip side of that, though, on our map, we also have what we call flagship sightings, and we have just historically important sightings. So if you click on those, even Roswell has a three-part write up on that. We've got very carefully sourced. Some of your favorite, mainstream writers who write about this topic contributed these articles that I worked with to curate. But we've got these great, very well resourced articles on all of these top events. And these are all events that pretty much remain a mystery, things like the Nimitz case or the Phoenix Lights, or the case that's gotten some news lately, Robert Salas,
Mhm.
Minot Air Force Base, where he saw these, in the 60s, these nuclear warheads deactivated when a UFO was allegedly seen outside of the gate above ground. So yeah, so a ton of education in there as well.
Yeah, and I mean, you said that it's not just about debunking everything. I think I kind of I get the sense, and this is anecdotal, that of course, yeah, people want to have that experience. A lot of people do, and it is exciting. It makes you feel special, like you've just you've witnessed something. But I also think people want to know what these things are. And
Yeah.
when you build, the problem is like traditionally, historically, people have been laughed out of the room, considered a crackpot, tinfoil hat wearing kind of individual. But when you've already cultivated a community of like, yeah, we are interested in this, we are taking this seriously, but we're also going to tell you what it likely is. I think that creates a bit of maybe like a trustworthiness that look, we're not making fun of you. We're open to this. However, we're also trying to explain the all of the rational possibilities here.
Yeah, at least for myself, I try to let people know it's okay if you're wrong. I've been wrong many times. But I would rather have the information than not. If you're not sure what you're looking at is something mysterious or not, submit it. I want to see it. And if it isn't mysterious, that's fine. But the possibility is there that we can then all have an educational moment. So, for instance, there were a lot of pilots reporting what were called racetrack UFOs, because these were these lights that would come on and disappear, come on and disappear. And, oh my gosh, this is happening across lots of commercial airliner pilots seeing this. What's going on? Well, we found out that's what Starlink looked like from the air.
Mhm.
And it was a Starlink thing. A lot of those pilots got really embarrassed and kind of regretted posting that. But I felt, and I told as many as I could, no, what you did was extremely helpful because now we're all educated on this. And now they even mentioned it in the Senate hearing. Arrow brought up this manifestation of these Starlink satellites, that how they seen from pilots, and that they're getting mistaken a lot. We just educated ourselves, which is an extremely important component to all of this. So, to your point, no one should be embarrassed about something of theirs getting discovered. That's part of the process. And what people don't realize is, what's funny is, when I look at a video and I'm like, I know exactly what that is. In my mind, I'm not thinking, what a bonehead. In my mind, I'm thinking, I had the exact same reaction they had when I first saw that phenomena. I thought, oh my gosh, I've got this amazing UFO video. And then typically it was another photo analyst or expert who said, no, Alejandro, this is actually what's going on here. And it's
Mhm.
great. Then now I'm educated. So, it's just part of the process.
Yeah, I mean, freaking Starlink seems to come up a lot anymore,
A lot.
and the fact that it even can look like a solid object, cylindrical object in the sky.
Yeah.
I guess as it's reconfiguring, but yeah, it's like that could be Starlink as well.
There are over 5,000 Starlink satellites up there. Before Starlink started launching in about the 2018 period, there were only a couple thousand satellites in orbit around the planet. So, it's quadrupled. It used to be, you've been on some of these sky watches with us before, even at the conference I used to do out here in Phoenix, where, you would see a satellite or two come by. Now, if you go outside, you're going to see maybe a dozen satellites at once flying around because there are just so many Starlink out there.
So, along with the education component, you have this anomalous scoring with
Yeah.
these reports. It sounds sexy, anomalous scoring, but how does it work? What is this range really entail?
Admittedly, and that's why I'm kind of smiling, is that it's a very, very premature stages. Right now, it's just looking at a few of the structured data. And what I mean by that is, when we ask people to fill out a form, there is the free form section where you can fill out your description. Then this gets into how we're using AI, because we're using AI in a lot of these different areas, which is also fun because it's kind of cutting edge usage of AI in some of these cases. But the structured data, when we ask you pointed questions, what did it look like? What was the color? Where it's just those questions. It's looking at that data and kind of making a determination on such factors as the number of witnesses, how close the object was, whether or not you noticed any sort of propulsion system that is conventional, rotors or anything that indicates something like that. But that's all it's looking at currently. So, to be honest, it's not that accurate right now. We haven't really integrated the AI like we want to, where we can do more analysis of these sightings. The other thing is the media, because the media plays a lot. You can have a sighting with 20 witnesses and they're all scientists, but then the video shows it's a Chinese lantern, and that should be a score of a zero, where it may be an 80 or something like that. So we've still got a long way to go with that scoring system, but it's a fun start, and it's something that will continue to develop. But some of the other stuff that we're using, that we're going to have to kind of become better at as time goes on to serve things like that score, is the description. So right now, when people have a free form description, we do use AI to get in there and analyze that description. What we'll do is the titles that are generated, those are generated by AI, which is really cool. So when your sighting gets posted, you don't create a title, right? You just put in the description. Well, the AI will go in there and say, this was a silver orb moving very quickly, then disappeared. And those titles are all AI generated. But we also take that data and we're able to expound different data, like how fast the object was going, the shape of the object. And that may seem easy, but it's actually hard for AI to just go in and, just because you said yellow, are you saying the object was yellow, or your car was yellow, or there was a yellow, airplane? But it's able to look at the words around it to be able to figure out where that fits on it. So we can even take a written letter, our AI can scan it and then pull out and put into a spreadsheet. It was yellow and it was round, and so then we have structured data we can do statistical analysis on.
Hmm.
So yeah, so we've got a ways to go with the scoring, but we're developing and making our AI smarter and smarter all the time. So yeah, we've got
Is
some exciting things that we're going to be moving into.
anything you want to tease?
Right now, I guess right now we're really focused on the alert network. And so that's going to be really cool. I guess, assuming, um, yeah, so we'll be teased. I guess my tease will be very soon. You'll see a lot more functionality around the alert network where you'll be able to be notified, when there's a sighting within a certain area that you've chosen or near you and within a certain time frame. And that's pretty exciting because getting to the point where someone's having a sighting, then people nearby can be notified so they can go outside and potentially see it or capture pictures or video themselves. I think that's going to be a big deal. And, in the instance of another Phoenix Lights like incident where there were thousands of witnesses, we can potentially get a lot more data when something like that occurs.
Yeah, I think that's a fascinating part of when I was kind of setting up the app that, opting into this alert network. I mean, in theory, if it works, and hopefully it will work, you're cultivating a mass sighting. And then from a lot of different angles within a confined amount of space. Like it's such it makes so much sense, and yet hasn't really been done before. So
Exactly. Like right
it's
now, these
yeah.
sightings in Jersey, we send out a thing to everybody. Hey, there's these sightings in Jersey. You know, uh, Keep an eye out, and we've gotten a few reports. So over time, I think that's going to be more and more useful.
Yeah. So with the data so far, with this the 25,000 kind of sightings that you've already collected, it's the United States leads the way, and that makes sense because right now the platform, the tools are English only, and it's also operating right now only on iOS. I know you're going to be launching Android soon, but so you're leading by United States, and then within the United States, it seems that the most sightings are in California, except like when you adjust for population size, it's New Mexico as the highest rate of submissions per 100,000 residents, and then I think a time of day, mainly between 7 p.m. and 11 p.m. when people are kind of out and about, commuting, running errands, doing whatever. So all of those kind of like, in a lot of ways, these kinds of fit what we've already been thinking about. It kind of fits the data that we've already seen out there. What are some things that have really surprised you from this data that goes against maybe what you were leaning into based on years of research?
Well, first to speak to that the data is similar than others, I think is really cool. In that it's confirming that I've worked with New Fork mostly recording and reporting on what they've been done and friends with the people who run that. I've worked more closely with like MUFON, very closely with them for a period of time but that's what the data that what has been showing as we've analyzed it, that more sightings in the Southwest, most people reporting orbs. And this is all the stuff that Arrow's been talking about in these hearings lately. They're getting the same findings that we've gotten in the past, which shows that the data that we've been getting is good, that these trends are consistent across everybody gathering that data. I think that's really cool that now at Enigma, we're getting the same thing. Like you said, the number of sightings, and there's so many headlines about, oh, New York, California have the most sightings or something like that. And it's it doesn't mean anything because really sightings correlate with population, which makes sense. Where there's more people, there's more sightings. So I think that, you had mentioned the per population. That's the most important. If you're going to look for hot spots, where are we getting more reports than others? Like I said, the Southwest has been always high, but that number that, the New Mexico, that was really shocking that we have per population many more sightings in New Mexico. And I haven't really been able to dive into that. This is kind of fairly new data. And I've got to really figure out why. In fact, we've got an article coming out in the Santa Fe New Mexican like today or tomorrow. And hopefully they dived into it a little more too. But yeah, that was really shocking and surprising. Otherwise, places like Arizona, Nevada coming to the top was not very surprising. I think that the time of day is really interesting. It's essentially in the evening, which makes sense. So a lot of people, it seems like when they get home from work, and they're taking walks at night. And anecdotally, that's what we get a lot of. I was walking my dog, I was having a cigarette. Also, nighttime sightings are more common, although they are less reliable, just because nighttime sightings are usually points of light, which are hard to determine. And I'm laughing because right now the news is inundated with headlines about these sightings in New Jersey and the FBI investigating them. But nearly every single video we've gotten is fairly obviously an airplane. And I know some of the witnesses that are driving some of that, they think these airplanes are mysterious for some reason. There's even been a prominent UFO guy saying, oh, well, the aliens can make their ships look like airplanes. So that makes it really difficult. But again, it just shows that things can be misidentified. And at night, even more so. So the trends are pretty similar. Am I seeing anything really shocking? I'm surprised that New Mexico was really that high, but that's about the only surprise that I've seen thus far. I would also say I'm a little surprised that we aren't getting as many mysterious videos as I thought we would. We're getting some really good ones, but one, your phone is not designed to shoot things at a distance. This isn't designed to capture details on an aircraft that at a distance. It's here for selfies, for landscapes and stuff like that. So, when it gets these objects that are seemingly mysterious, we just still need more data.
Mm-hmm.
But it is helpful. The more sightings we get, the better. But we are getting some cool ones. So one of my favorites, I'm going to write up on Den of Geek here in the next week, is this object where essentially when you're looking and analyzing these videos, and this can help people in the public as well. And you've done so much analysis of a lot of different type of phenomena, but you're trying to rule out anything mundane,
Yeah.
right? And if you can't rule that out, then you have something that may be mysterious, but you just don't have anything as solid as we would like. So when we get a lot of satellites and things moving steadily in the air, anything moving, kind of steadily in the air during the day, let's say, could be an aircraft. But and at night that could be a satellite. But one of them, for instance, I've seen, and this is what we get a lot of anecdotally, where people are like, I was watching a satellite and then it started zigzagging through the sky. Well, we have a video that's pretty much like this. And it's been pretty mysterious. We do have an astrophysicist looking at it. He's actually a PhD in astronautical engineering.
This is
Um,
the from Signal Mountain.
this is Signal Mountain. You're aware of it. Impressive. But yes, this Signal Mountain, Tennessee, where the object looks like a satellite, but then it slows down, it stops, it maneuvers, and it looks like, a single light in the distance. It doesn't maneuver like any aircraft. The closest thing I think it could be is a drone, but it's not apparently a drone. It seems to be at distance. So this is a really mysterious one. This is one of my favorites. So
It's
we've
also
gotten that.
it's a good case, or it's a good account, a good sighting because it comes with a lot of information from the eyewitness.
Yeah.
They are very diligent about talking about the camera that they used, accounting for the environment, mentioning that they're near an airport. They know what Starlink looks like, and they see that a lot. It just it's giving you a lot to go on. We still don't know what it is, but it's providing a lot of data.
Yeah.
So, anecdotal data, but it's still interesting. So, yeah, this is that is a good one.
Perfect witness. I mean, he's technical. He set up the camera to look for objects in the sky. He knows what he's doing. And yeah, a dream witness, a perfect witness. But we have gotten a lot of what look like orbs flying through the sky. I love that. Those are harder to like I said, to rule out other things like balloons, for instance, or an aircraft. But some of them, you look at them and a balloon is going to move with the wind, and some of them are moving super quickly. In fact, there's a gentleman here in Phoenix who's gotten a lot of my favorite videos, and he's right nearby here. I just submitted to Arizona Media, some of his videos to look at, so I hope they cover it. But I think this guy's going to continue to get good stuff. And why is he getting good stuff? Because he's out looking every day. And these things occur everywhere. And luckily in the Southwest, I think we get a lot more sightings because we've got clear skies and we can be outside more looking. So I'm really excited about his videos. But the orb thing to me is the most fascinating because even prior to working with Enigma and getting all of these videos, I felt that that was the most credible phenomena throughout history. We have objects, mostly points of lights being seen. Washington D.C. 1952, for example, even the Nimitz case where jets are scrambled, the objects take off at really quick speed. Maybe there's a little bit of even cat and mouse there with the jets before the objects take off. And that seems to happen over and over again. And to me, if this seems to be the most prominent thing that's going on, it would make sense why the military wouldn't have much data. If they're trying to chase them and they're running away from them, they're not able to get much data either. So I think that there might be something to all of that. And even Arrow has admitted that metallic orbs are a phenomena that we have not resolved, that we are seeing these things over secure airspace and don't know what they are. That's fascinating.
Well, speaking of Arrow, let's talk a little bit about just sort of the state of UAP in light of the congressional UAP hearings. As I mentioned at the top, their Arrow is doing a closed door um, a report right now, but just last month, I guess like November 16th, if I recall correctly, there was a congressional UAP hearing. And so how would you sum up the state of things right now as far as Arrow, the involvement of NASA, even kind of the breakdown and breakdown between the two houses of Congress and the approach there?
Yeah. So there's essentially kind of two sides going on. And actually, I think this closed hearing is probably, hopefully, a good thing and will create some more consistency and cooperation on the government side when it comes to this topic. And what I mean by that is we've seen a couple kind of lines of hearings. We've seen the Senate hearings, which are typically interviewing Aero personnel and asking them what they're doing, but not just necessarily resting on their laurels. They're also prodding Arrow and saying, well, we asked you to do X, Y, and Z. When are you going to get to that? We need you to get to that. And so that's kind of the Senate side of things, working with Arrow, pushing along, I think, a process that they hope will resolve the issue. The other side is the House. The House, mostly through the Oversight Committee, has been more of like looking for a gotcha, I think, with the DoD, but they haven't gotten any. That's where we've seen this guy David Grush from the intelligence community. We more recently saw Luis Elizondo from the intelligence community, both making these really incredible, wild claims, but neither having any information to substantiate those claims. And that's what's difficult. And it's, this is maybe going a little far, but I personally feel that perhaps and I don't think it's unfair to say this, it's irresponsible of these intel guys to be coming forward with this alleged second, third hand information without being able to verify it. And even worse, a lot of the data that they've pushed out has been either debunked immediately or was debunked before they ever pushed it out. And what I mean by that is very recently, Elizondo has posted some pictures or used them in talks, and people have said, well, those were debunked, decades ago. And he's like, oops, sorry, didn't know that. Well, how are you basing your beliefs and your claims off of, information that is poor information? That seems irresponsible coming from Intel. And the same has happened with some of the Grush information as well. So, I mean, I've taken a ton of heat for not having much hope in what would come from that. Also, I have a long history with their sources of information, so I know who their sources are. In fact, I was one of the first to interview some of these people about their alleged claims. And they're just claims. And so uh, I think that has been kind of a dead end. And more recently, the House Oversight Committee, especially in the last hearing, seemed to start to have concerns. Grothman, who headed up the committee, made a note that we were not able to verify any of Grush's information, despite having SCIF meetings and having several agencies look into it. He said, I hope that the witnesses this time actually have something we can work with. Then later on in the hearing, he really grilled them and asked, well, what are your sources? Who are they? Where do they come from? And they couldn't answer any of those questions. Even Luna, Representative Luna, who's been one of the prominent people in the oversight committee to push all of this forward, afterwards was very concerned and said they didn't really say anything. We wasted our time. And so this, hopefully, they haven't been working very well with Arrow in the past, though, the House side of things. So I'm hoping that this closed door meeting, Arrow will be able to kind of clear the air with them. I think that Arrow needs to be pushed. I think there's a lot more Arrow needs to accomplish, and I think they need to take the public and transparency a bit more seriously, to be honest. But I think cooperation is the way that's going to be most helpful, and I hope that Arrow's listening to the House, taking their suggestions, will be adopting those and addressing those concerns that they have, and that we do get more cooperation and move together. I also hope NASA gets more involved, because really, I think transparent scientific investigation is where this has to go if we're going to get more information. That's why I'm so into working with Enigma and gathering data. But, for our best cases like Signal Mountain, we need scientists. We need a host of scientists from different disciplines to look at that and come together and write papers. And I hope that happens. NASA can really help that happen. And they've signified interest, but again, their big reservation, not only publicly but behind closed doors, is it really worth it if I'm just going to get attacked by an army of trolls?
Yeah, and I think you're making a good point about some of the House hearings versus the Senate, as far as we've seen these sort of quote unquote nothing burger type of hearings, or these kind of salacious, there are bodies, where are the bodies, kind of testimony from people that, as you said, it's like they heard it from a guy. But I did have some moments from this last one in November where it left me a little bit more optimistic. Some moments. So I kind of hope that we move more in that territory. And yeah, most certainly pushing for more answers from like Arrow. That said, I don't think it's unreasonable for someone that downloads Enigma and utilizes this, and considering that there still is some stigma attached to these things, maybe some concern that what's to stop an Enigma from handing over this data to an Arrow or to the government, and if they come along with a subpoena or something.
Um, First of all, there's a couple of things with that. First of all, we allow people, which is somewhat unique. We allow people to submit anonymously where they don't have to share any personal information, period. Two, that, of course, if they do share some, but they want it to be hidden, we take that extremely seriously. In fact, that's a primary reason we have human eyeballs look at every single one, is to make sure no personal information gets out. And we actually have AI that scrubs that out of everything. So we just make sure the AI worked, which is really cool. Another great usage for AI for us. But in our interactions with the government, because we do want to work with it, we want to work with everybody, and the government, they are extremely concerned about personal information, and that their biggest concern is that if we were to work out an agreement, do not transfer any personal information. So that's not a thing, and of course, conspiracists may think otherwise, but there's a very huge concern that the government do this correctly and not obtain personal information on private citizens. So that's just not going to be a thing. The other thing that I used to say, even with MUFON, is we share our information with everybody. When we get a report, our first goal is to get that information out and share it with everyone. So if they want the same information everybody else gets, we're more than happy to share that information. And we're working at more robust ways to let other researchers access all the information, of course, sans personal information, for analysis and research. And we'll have more of that going on in the future as well. So, yeah, I would say, if they do have that concern, just don't add their name and information.
Hmm.
Also, what's cool with Apple is it will let you give an anonymous email. So you can say, give them a contact email, and it's hidden what the original email is, but it'll transfer those emails to you if you wanted to keep some kind of communication open, which is helpful because, when I'm talking to the media or researchers, a lot of times they want to talk to the witness. And there are times where the witness can help guide them. And of course, the media always wants to talk. And we've had some incredible witnesses talk to the media and just do an amazing job. And that's always fun. So yeah, it's that's how I guess we're mitigating and working with that issue.
Yeah. So what else is, I mean, you talked a little bit about this, but what's sort of next for Enigma? What can people keep an eye out
Mhm.
for? And also, outside of me saying it, why don't you tell folks how they can support, submit, and just keep in touch with what's going on out there?
Yeah. So yeah, future of Enigma. And one of the things with Enigma that we've really focused on is community. And so we're going to integrate likes and things like that because we want to grow the community. And to your point earlier, the community part is actually a bigger deal than even I thought, but has turned out to be, really eye-opening for the rest of the company. And here's why. One of the first events we went to, a lady pulled me aside and she's like, I want to talk to you. And so I was like, okay. And she was like, I need to tell someone my sighting. She knew of my work and stuff. So she felt that I was someone comfortable to share information with. But she started breaking down because she had a sighting. And when she told her family, they freaked out and thought she was on drugs. This is not a person who has a history of taking drugs. Um, her sister was adamant that she must be on drugs or something. She sent her daughter over with a drug test. And you can imagine this crushed this woman, that her sister and her daughter would not believe her over something so silly and to her kind of mundane. Of course, it was a shocking life event, but it was like, it's I'm just sharing a story and you guys are freaking out, like being so drastic about it. She took the drug test, but it traumatized her. Her husband did not want her to say one word about UFOs around her. And I'm sure you've ran across a lot of these people too. So she just felt extremely alone. And that has been one of the huge benefits of the app is this community. It's people being able to come in, share their sighting, and then openly talk to others about their sighting. And they just don't have that opportunity outside of the app or the community that we've created. So that's huge. So we foster that. We are definitely growing that, and it's really cool because there's a lot of trolls in the social media when it comes to this community, but the community that we've fostered, and we've got great ratings on the app store. We're getting thousands of downloads a day. It's doing extremely well. People are just really loving it, and that seems to be one big part of it. So that's really fun, is creating that community, hopefully then dissolving that stigma and making people find being more comfortable to talk about this stuff, and keep an eye up and hopefully discover more guys like this guy in Phoenix who is looking every day. I love it, because that's how we're going to capture these good videos. So that will be on Android really soon. That is really huge. Apple's really taken over, especially with the younger generation, and it's growing. But Android in other countries, and especially with our demographic, which is kind of older, is there's a big community. So we're really happy about finally getting Android up in a matter of weeks now, which is wonderful. And then, like I said earlier, we're going to start to make, after we get that rolled out, our website more robust as well, and offer some more tools where people can look at some statistics and things like that. Because that's another thing I'm doing on the back end, is working to get media information about sightings in their area. So that we want to do more analysis. We do want to develop more AI analysis, where AI can analyze those videos. I think that's going to be key to really then plugging that into our scoring system, because I think there's going to be a ton of value when we do get that scoring system down and start to really fine tune it to where it's accurate. That's going to be huge. So people don't have to comb through a ton of sightings. You can just go right to the best ones. So all of that's really exciting, let alone getting a lot more insights on these events that are occurring, throughout the planet. We had an article not too long ago on all of our sightings around military. And of course, we've got a ton of sightings around Nevada and Area 51. Are those top secret projects? Probably some of them, but some could be more. But I just really feel that this is the way to go, that while everybody's kind of arguing about, and I think that's the tragic part of what's going on right now. Everybody is arguing about these unsubstantiated rumors and this mythology that has existed for so long, instead of really focusing on the actual sightings and what's going on right above our heads right now. And I think that by far, by looking and collecting data, we're going to be the first ones to come to the table and say, hey, look, there is a phenomena going on here. There is something exotic going on, and we've got the evidence for it. And evidence that can be convincing and debated in the wider mainstream scientific community. That's where we need to get to. The rest to me is kind of just wasting time and chasing our tails. So I'm just focused 100% on making that happen. And I think it's doable. And I just hope that people can realize that. And these trolls realize that they may be frustrated that I'm out there saying we don't have evidence that aliens are here. But my goal is to get that evidence. If you think aliens are here, if you think you have the answer, you should be supporting what people in the scientific community are doing in this sort of research, because what we're doing is then going to prove that you're right. And that's our goal, is to prove you're right if that's what's going on. And that's what's exciting. The more we're directed at doing that, then more potential it'll happen.
Yeah, otherwise it's just myths, legend, lore, and conspiracy
Exactly.
theories. Um,
Exactly.
so, and I should note that you can download the app on, well, the App Store, the Apple App Store, and it's coming soon to Android, but you can also visit enigmalab.io, and you can submit your own UAP sighting at submit.enigmalabs.io.
You can
Correct?
also call 1-800 SAW a UFO and report it. So we even have a phone line, 1-800 SAW a UFO, and report via the phone.
I did not know that one. That
It's
actually,
new.
that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you ever need me to record a voice message for you, just let me know.
Oh yeah. Good idea.
Um, Alejandro, thank you so much, my friend. Thanks for joining me to talk about Enigma. I really think it is a very exciting project that you have, and it it feels like that natural thing that we've kind of been waiting for a long time. I don't know why it's taken so long to actually make this happen, but I think it's
A
going to
lot
be
of
really
work.
fascinating to watch the evolution of this.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm super excited about it. We just have an incredibly cool, great team. And it's fun to see the progress we're making on a weekly basis.
That's right. Well, once again, the it is Enigma. It's the first unidentified and anomalous phenomena sightings alert network, and it is a website and a smartphone app. So check out enigmalabs.io or on the App Store. My guest has been my friend. He's a researcher. He's a consultant for Enigma, Alejandro Rojas. I'm Aaron Sagers. This has been Talking Strange, and until next time, be kind, stay spooky, and keep it weird.